So if you are looking at the screen, which is you're actually doing, I hope you recognize this. Um, the sound of music. Okay. Well, this is exactly what I do when I don't feel like teaching. No, I'm kidding. It's pretty much what I have been doing in my teaching career because I am a learner of English and a teacher of English, and I have faith in this style of teaching. Music and movies have made me the person that I am now. So I do have faith in it. I believe in the impact of this style of teaching in improving learners' capacity. So let me tell you how I started with English. How I started. So as farthest as I can remember, back in the 1990s, I was a kid. I was at around 5 or 6 years old. I couldn't even write Vietnamese very well. But I had my uncles and aunt who lived in America. And every summer they sent me videotapes of Walt Disney movies. Well, I hope you recognize The Land Before Time. And then Miss Pocahontas. And then we have the symbol in Lion King or Hercules. And the Beauty and the Beast. And the last one, Tarzan. If you have watched Walt Disney movies, then you would have noticed that in each of the movie, they had very great soundtracks. Extremely great. Written by very talented, very famous songwriters and sung by great artists. For example, we had, I can actually summarize my childhood with these songs. We have If We Hold On Together by Diana Ross. That's my theme song when I was a kid. I didn't actually know anything about English, but I didn't know it's an if clause. I didn't know it was an incomplete sentence or a sentence fragment or anything like that. But I kept mimicking to the lyrics of the song, all of these songs, every day, every single time I got a chance to, I feel like singing, without knowing that I actually was learning a language at some point. So I somehow wrote them in my mind unintentionally. And then when I went to school, when I became English conscious, when I started learning English for real in books with my teachers, then I recognized them. The material, the things that I have learned, no, the things that I have watched or listened to, they came right back in real life. It's like a deja vu. You have had that feeling, right? So they had been there before, long before I actually learned English, long before. So I realized that it is a very good way to use English and music to learn the language of English. And let me tell you how I learned the language of English. I started picking up what I have watched and listened to. Just what I did in the past, and then I link it to what I am learning. I create a bridge between what I watch and listen to what I am learning. And I bring it to life, or I bring them to life, which means I put them to use. I try to make examples with everything that I have. I try to use it in my real life. I use it everywhere. It can be a quote from a movie, it can be a song, it can be anything, but mostly I do it with a song. And then, in order to learn more, I try to increase my repertoire. So, talking about repertoire, I am an English teacher, but I am also a singer. So, just so you know, repertoire actually means literally is a stock of plays, dances, or songs that a performer knows or is prepared to play. But because I am also an English teacher, so I perceived repertoire is my English capacity. How much do I know of English? How many words, how many vocabularies, phrases, idiom, whatever it is about English, how much do I know of English? So I have my own repertoire that represents me. And I suppose that my students should also have their own repertoire. Based on what they like, they can pick them up, make their own repertoire. So this one would bring me to the next point. Okay, here it is. When I was in university, in the first 2 years, we had to study General English, and the course book at that time is Mosaic. So Mosaic is, like you can see here, it's a picture or it's a pattern. Is produced by arranging together hard materials like we have stones or glass, okay? So at the beginning, I thought Mosaic was like a nonsense book. But because it was too difficult for me. I was like a high school student, shifted to university level, and I didn't understand anything at the beginning. But after 2 years, finished the course with the book of Mosaic, I realized that we need the 4 books to make sense. So I came up with the idea, I have my own mosaic. This is my mosaic, is like a singer and or guitar player. And I have another mosaic of being an English teacher. And so I would like my students to have their own mosaic. A big picture made by themselves. Materials picked by themselves based on their interests, whatever they like, their habits, their hobbies, to build up a mosaic for themselves. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that, what I tell my students, I never tell my students to learn English because English is important. It's a matter of fact. The whole world knows that. I don't need to repeat it. I tell my students to learn English because English is beautiful. It's a language you have a lot of benefits from learning with it, from understanding it, from comprehend it. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I need to tell my student is to change their habits and adopt new ones. Well, let me give you one example. I did ask you, how are you today? And I have different answers. I'm good, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, things like that. But if you ever walk into a classroom in Vietnam, at least classes that I have taught, and you ask them the same question, how are you today? And I'm pretty sure that 9 out of 10 students will come like automatically respond to you with, I'm fine, thank you, and you. They don't even think about it. It just like comes out. Yeah, some of them are, I'm fine, thank you, and you. I'm fine, thank you, and you. So that is very bad habit of using English. They need to change that. They need to say something like you did. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Oh, never better. I'm good, I'm doing well, things like that. So they really need to change that in order to have I mean, the variety of vocabulary using. hmm And next one, I will ask them to dig real deep because I told my student, I have told them for many times, we do not learn English just to speak or write a couple of sentences. We learn English to maintain a conversation, to last it, to use English more effectively. So I asked them to dig real deep into each of the questions they have by keep asking follow-up questions. Yeah, not only yes/no questions. And next one, I asked them to create their own environment because most of you here are teachers. You know that your students have a lot of excuses, and this is one of it. I cannot speak English because I do not have the environment. Who am I going to talk to? When I leave your classroom, the only language that I use is Vietnamese, right? So I tell them, most of the time I prove them wrong. If they do not have the environment, now, how could I had it? How could I have it? I'm sorry. Back in 1990s. How could I? So I told them some techniques that I use. Uh, the first one, I talk to myself a lot of times, believe me. So if you like ever see me walking, talking to myself, then you understand, right? Leave me alone. Next one, I even I use English everywhere. I talk to my mom using English. Of course, she doesn't understand. But my mom can pick up some keywords. For example, Mom, what do we have for lunch? So my mom doesn't understand anything, but lunch, okay. She responds me in Vietnamese, that's fine. That's the way I create my own environment. And I tell them the same thing, okay? And next one, just like what I have been doing, they need to develop their repertoire, okay? They need to develop their repertoire, okay? I tell my students these things because I think I have proof that students who got chances to watch or listen to English, music of English or movies of English in earlier ages, they can actually comprehend English in a better way, in a faster way, which means it helps them to find the equivalence between their mother tongues and English more effectively. I mean, equivalence is, for example, we have some of the idioms in American, using dogs referring to people, like we have a noun, underdog, or you can't teach a dog new tricks, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or we have a good dog deserves a good bone. Yeah. In Vietnam, we do not use that kind of image referring to people is kind of insulting. So, in order to translate or to interpret that into Vietnamese, they will need to choose some other ways. Okay, and people who watch and listen to music at an early age, they can actually do it very more effectively. Okay, and last but not least, they use English in a more natural way, which means closer to the native way. The pronunciation, the intonation. Okay? So, pick up your puzzles, pieces, put them together, make your own picture, and color them. Okay? And just before I stop, I'm going to have some famous last words with the songs for you. Um, And it's also a demonstration for things that I often do in my classes. It's not only about a language, it's also about being human, like a human being. I'm a little boy with glasses, the one they call the geek. A little girl who never smiles, 'cause I've got braces on my teeth. And I know how it feels to cry myself to sleep. I'm that quit on the corner. I'm sorry. Again? I'm that kid on every playground. This is always chose the last. A single teenage mother trying to overcome my past. You don't have to be my friend. Is it too much to ask? Don't laugh at me. Don't call me names. Don't get your pleasure from my pain. In God's eyes, we're all the same. Someday we'll all have perfect wings. Don't laugh at me. I'm that cripple on the corner. If passed me on the street, I wouldn't be out here baking if I had enough to eat. And don't think I don't notice that our eyes never meet. So don't laugh at me, don't call me names. Don't get your pleasure from my pain. In God's eyes, we're all the same. Someday we'll all have perfect wings. Don't laugh at me. I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm short, I'm tall, I'm blind, I'm deaf. Hey, aren't we all? So don't laugh at me, don't call me names. Don't get your pleasure from my pain. In God's eyes, we're all the same. Someday we'll all have perfect wings. Don't laugh at me. So thank you very much.